I normally try to avoid clickbait titles, but the title of this is a bit hyperbolic. I'm not actually going to argue that atheists can't have ethics, only that most of them don't. Conversations between Christians and atheists about social ethics tend to go something like this. First, the Christians say, you can't have a moral society without some ultimate moral authority, and there's a name for that. It's called God. You ultimately can't have ethics in your society without God. Then the atheists say, yes, you can. And the Christians say, no, you can't. And the atheists say, actually, we have a perfectly functional system of ethics that can bind society together in basic standards of human decency, all without needing a God. Then the Christians say, oh, really? This is news. Tell us, what is it called? The atheists say, it's called humanism. #good without God. The Christians then respond, and you're saying this philosophy of yours posits real ethics, not some bogus moral relativism that reduces right and wrong to being arbitrary opinions like is the atheist stereotype. You mean actual, this is right and that is wrong, full stop? And the atheists say, yes, we're claiming real right and wrong, not just some stupid opinion, because we're going to totally break that stereotype. We may disagree about what causes right and wrong, but we can agree with you that there is a real right and wrong. We just think you don't need God to justify it. And the Christians think about this and they say, all right, good. So if what you say is true about this humanism, then your philosophy should be able to justify moral standards of human decency to one's fellow humans without God. At least the really basic stuff, the really obvious, natural, fundamentally human moral values, correct? And the atheists say, yep, that's humanism in a nutshell. And then the Christians, wanting to make sure, clarify, and if your philosophy did not do this, if it reduced really basic moral precepts to only being the arbitrary personal opinion of the individual, then that would be what not having ethics means, right? So you're not like Nietzsche, Freud, or Sartre who think that sort of thing. Then the atheists say, no, we're humanists. We actually do have ethics, even though those guys didn't. Then the Christians say, all right, just to understand how this works, let's start with something simple and basic. How would your moral philosophy justify the basic idea that killing babies is wrong? And this is the point at which the humanists usually go, and I quote, Because while it is possible in theory for atheists to have ethics, it turns out in practice that most atheists actually don't have ethics. They can, and they don't. If they did have ethics, then they'd be able to detect that an operation which leaves a crushed skull and a pile of severed human arms and legs on the floor and a pool of blood probably ought to be raising some moral questions. Figuring that much out is not hard. Now, I understand that there is such a thing as secular pro-life, but I'm betting that most of the people who like it on Facebook and follow it on Twitter are pretty much Catholics. Still, if there are a few secular pro-life individuals out there hearing this and want to go, #not all atheists or whatever, then this message really isn't addressed to you guys. This is addressed to all of your morally degenerate secularist scumbag friends. The concept that killing babies is a bad thing to do would have to be pretty basic to any honest philosophy that claims to base morality on human nature. And I'm not necessarily even talking about from the moment of conception, because, surprise, I'm not a Catholic. I'm not talking about a blob of cells formed only days ago here. I'm not talking about stem cell research or whatever. I'm talking about well into the pregnancy, look at a picture and anyone can tell that they're looking at a picture of a baby, babies. We're not talking about blobs of cells from the first trimester here. We're talking about brain, heart, arms and legs, babies. When I make clarifications like that, I can sometimes get a sort of non-committal commitment to the idea that maybe there ought to be some limits on abortion somewhere, out of some humanists. But the organizations these people support and the politicians they elect year after year advocate no compromise, total abortion on demand at any stage, for any reason, no conditions, no exceptions, and even demand that taxpayer money be used to fund abortion at any stage, for any reason, with no conditions and no exceptions, and want to be able to sue Christian employers and hospitals if they won't start actually providing abortion services. They want to deny medical degrees to doctors who won't agree to study how to perform abortions in order to get their degree. That's not pro-choice. That's pro-abortion. The pro-abortion lobby dominates the political left, and the political left dominates the atheist community. They make moral heroes out of late-term abortionists like Kermit Gosnell. Now, Christians seem to have figured this out. They've figured out that killing babies is bad. How did they do that? It's not directly addressed in the Bible anywhere. They're not really getting it from the religion itself. So how is it that Christians know about this basic moral precept and atheists don't? It's that they have ethics and atheists don't. The only real connection between Christianity and opposition to abortion is that Christianity teaches its adherents to have a strong sense of ethics. That's it. That's the whole connection right there. Because any basically moral person knows that it's wrong to arbitrarily redefine a group of innocent human beings as not being persons in order to justify killing them. That's also how we know the Nazis were bad. Atheists love to go on about the supposed evolution of morality, but what kind of stupid animal evolves to kill its own babies? In my last few videos, I was going over the arguments for and against the existence of God, and I found that I'm going to have to address some of the more powerful morality-based arguments against God at a later point. But in the meantime, you're going to have to forgive me if I don't take the people making such arguments as being entirely serious, because the abortion issue clearly shows that most atheists do not have ethics.